Good day, everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the local and global communication and multicultural setting. Group 3 will present this for today, and for our objectives, first we have to explain the effects of culture in communication. Second is to recognize the impact of culture in communication, especially in English. And third is to adopt cultural awareness and sensitivity in communication of ideas. Our presenters for today are Adolfo Axil, second is Cahigal Andrea, third is Valencia Boris, fourth is Handa Charis, and last but not the least is Orhas Jennifer. So, first topic will be discussed by me, which is local communication in multicultural settings. Before that, we have to know muna who created and who is responsible when it comes to the paggawa ng nonverbal signals. So, Chad Louise orchestrated how to use nonverbal signals key to successful communication in varied cultural circumstances in his book named Successful Communication in Multicultural Environments. Another issue of communicating in a varied context is that the secondary channel used to transmit a statement may be received very differently by persons with different cultural identities. So, from that, the book of Chad Dewey's Successful Communication in Multicultural Environments consists some instructions or tips on how to be respectful or how to communicate effectively even when encountering different cultural circumstances. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng culture is pare-pareho. There is variations on how we take and give, how we receive and take like nonverbal signals, communications, and different, lalo na sa mannerisms. So let's move on to kinesics. Kinesics. It relates to the use of body language, gestures, eye contact, and so on, which can be difficult in varied societies. Eye contact can be interpreted differently as either paying attention or being aggressive. Also, head wobbling is used in India to answer a question that can be misinterpreted by other groups of people. So, what is kinesics? Based from this slide, kinesics is the use of body language, gestures, eye contact, and so on. But not always can be interpreted very um, effectively, lalo na sa ibang cultures, different, varied society. Because like eye contact, it can be interpreted differently as either paying attention or being aggressive. Here in the Philippines, um, even in other cultures, I believe, uh, long eye contact can be interpreted as malicious and very offensive. Diba? Like, pag tinitigan ka ng isang tao ng napakatagal and he or she doesn't speak man lang or try to approach you, he or she just looks at you, very plain and for like let's say two to 5 minutes, he just does that. Eye contact, pure eye contact, and how would we feel about that? Ano yung mararamdaman natin? Siyempre, we would feel threatened, of course, because first of all, we don't know that person, and yet he or she keeps on looking at us without even approaching us or asking us questions if he or she is interested in approaching us. And next is head wobbling. Head wobbling is used in mostly India. It is to um, para mapakita nila yung kanilang understanding. I think I read once why Indians wobble their heads or shake their heads from left right when they're speaking like this. They do that because they want to show it. They it's not like they want to show it. It's a kind of mannerism. It shows how deep they can understand you or how effective the communication is going. Like when they shake their heads very fast and speaking very fast also, it means that they really, really understand you. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng Indians can speak English fluently or understand English fluently. So most of them can just shake their heads when they're trying to communicate with other people, especially foreigners. Okay, so next is when they wobble their heads slow. It can also mean that it can also mean good or they agree on what you're saying. But when they wobble their heads very slow, it means that they're confused or doesn't get what you're trying to say. So let's move on to intonation. Another communication problem for a diverse group is conveying a nonverbal message since the meaning associated with it is not universal. Intonation is the way the pitch of your voice goes up and down as you talk or reciting something by singing it. An example of intonation is the way your voice raises in pitch at the end of a question. So, sabi dito, an example of intonation is when we ask questions like, kumain ka na ba? Did you eat already? Are you fine? How do you feel? That raising pitch at the end of every sentences is called an intonation. Even if you're mad, galit ka, and you're shouting, it is also considered as intonation. And when your voice is very low or matamlay, that is also considered as intonation. And through intonation, emotions can be conveyed to others. And it is also a type of communication where you can understand what the other person is feeling at the moment. Is he sad, angry, um, happy? Is he confused or disgusted? Anything can be, especially emotions, can be seen through their use of intonation. Another example of this is when we're singing, like when we're singing in the kitchen, in the in the bathroom, wherever we just sing. We're just trying to sing, and we use intonation if we have a low pitch. We're trying to reach that high note or a low note. We try that, but yeah, that's another example of intonation. That's all for the local communication in multicultural settings. So just always try to remember to be considerate, especially when using kinesics. Okay, because kinesics can be interpreted very differently to other cultures. As what I've said earlier, eye contact can be understood as either paying attention or being aggressive. So we might offend other people without even knowing it. Okay? And we don't and when we encounter other culture, we just try to be respectful. We don't have to copy their type of body language, gestures, and so on, because it's their culture. And to them, copying it or trying to imitate it in front of them can be really, really offensive. Okay, so that's all for local communication in multicultural setting. Thank you.
In conflict resolution issues, there are three issues included here, which are generalization, stereotypes, and perception. When we say generalization, it is the pattern of communication used by most people in any cultural group. We can actually generalize based on characteristics of population of the cultural group. Example, we can generalize Filipino as a hospitable people. Now, if you're gonna apply this generalization to each and everyone belongs to that cultural group, that would become a stereotype already. In generalization, you are not trying to box each and every individual to that cultural group. For example, Jericho is a Filipino. Now, Jericho is hospitable. Then, what if Jericho is not good at welcoming guests? Now, if you're trying to box Jericho because of being hospitable, simply because of that generalization, that would become a stereotype already. So, let's move on to the next issue. In stereotype, these are the cultural norms applied to everyone in a group in a rigid manner. In stereotyping, for example, you are doing sweeping statement. Sweeping statement, you are trying to sweep it all, that one certain fact, where in fact not everyone actually fit into that generalization. So, stereotypes are negative communication. Negative in communication because these are the cultural norms that really go overboard. So another. In perceptions, it is the highly susceptible in both personal and cultural experiences. In here, you perceive people's things and places and whatnot based on what you're experiencing personally and culturally. So again, places are the big role in shaping our perspective, how we see the world, and how we see people. Because of these three issues, we tend to experience a lot of cross-cultural miscommunication. According to Barna, 1997, in Stringer and Cassidy, there are 6 primary cross-cultural miscommunication. First is assumption and similarity. In here, it leads us to assume that communication style of behaving, of how everyone communicates and behaves. So it means that when the person acts like us or similar to us, we think that they are right, or we didn't think much about it. But then, if they act differently, we may judge them negatively. So, in here, we assume that everyone should be similar with us. In number 2, which is language differences. Language can pertain something else that conclude to miscommunication. In here, for example of this is when you say pop in United States, they might assume that it was a hola. But then in the other country, when you say pop, it can pertains to shoot a person. And these differences can impact our communication negatively, or it may conclude to miscommunication. And number 3, nonverbal misinterpretation. In here, we send and receive wordless messages through body language, facial expression, sign languages like we smirk, smile, or raise our eyebrows that can actually make differences in terms of communication. And a lot of times, it can cause of miscommunication. Number 4, preconception and stereotype. This is something to do with our conception. Culture influences how we see the world. Sometimes we preconceive notion already allot someone or something. And stereotype will occur already when oversimplified characteristics are used as we judge people in in a group or a people associated with a certain group. Okay. Next is tendency to evaluate. In here, this is somehow related to it. When we hear communication, this is observed behavior. We tend to interpret the messages or action through cultural lens. We may evaluate message or behavior, good or bad, without really understanding the intent. Again, this is just a basis of our cultural lens. In number 6, high anxiety. It's caused by high affective filter. We are anxious of what we reply or how will we approach. And next is how comfortably we are in our thought. In opening a conversation with someone, to avoid being anxious, we should rehearse or we should be ready when we open a communication.
Good day, I am Boris Fabio Valencia and I'm going to discuss to you the gender issue in local and global communication. So according to this 2009, the idea that men and women are different in their ability to communicate has been one of the most popular beliefs about gender differences that exist to this day. Whether it is words, tone of voice, emotional expression, or body language. The way in which males and females communicate have been explored in a variety of ways to distinguish the characteristics that makes us so different. It may seem obvious that males and females tend to use different communication styles. So this 2009 says that there are differences between male and females when it comes in communication. And until now, it still exists the beliefs that males and females have a different abilities to communicate. It includes their words, tone of voice, emotional expression, and body language. And there are variations on how their communication style were different from each other. And as you can see in this chart, that it is divided into two columns. First column is for male and the second column is for female. It will tackles the differences of their communication styles. Okay, let's start in male column. It says here that males are direct. What does it mean? It means that males are honest and straightforward. They didn't hesitate what they are going to say to you, even if it is harsh or a compliment. Second bullet says that males are succinct. It means that males are always have a short explanation whenever they are communicating with other people. Third bullet says that males are instrumental. It is a style of communication carried out through instrumental interaction. Now, let's move on to the second or female column. In the first bullet, it says that females are indirect. It means females does not state what their intentions, thoughts, or opinions are. And if male always have a brief explanation, females are more in elaboration. They explain the things in very detailed and their information are full of explanations. And lastly, females are emotional when it comes in communication. While because females are more prone to talk about what they are thinking and feeling and to express how they are feeling with their tears, facial expressions, hand gestures, and body language. Next, we have major differences between male and female. Number one is one major difference between male and female's communication style is in the amount of emotion that is used in their conversation. It is gendered cultural norms such as emotional expression and communication styles are both learned in childhood through interaction with family members and friends. Number two is female use body language to affirm the person who is communicating with them. It means that body language that could be a sign that a female is interested includes strong eye contact during conversation and showcasing that she is comfortable around you. This body language can be shown in her relaxed posture where arms might not be crossed. Number three is when men are listening to others, they tend to remain still. So when males are hearing something in his surroundings, they don't care what is going on. They remain still and go what he was going to do. Number four is men are much more likely to command and use personal space than women. Males often prefer face-to-face communication with opportunity to shake hands or pat someone's shoulder. Number five, there are some differences between how male and female communicate through physical touch, and there are plenty of similarities because of our genital makeup. Usually, males use pats, back slaps, and shoulder touches as a way to display dominance. Male will use an introductory handshake to set the tone for communication to come. On the other hand, females may reach out and touch someone's arms or offer a hug to build a communication connection and to show support. Number six, women typically use more direct eye contact during communication in order to make a strong connection and developing a relationship. However, men use eye contact most commonly a challenge of power or competition or position. So you should understand that men and women have different communication styles. Do not be offended when a person of the opposite gender responds or acts in a way different from what you were expecting. So now that you are aware on how the communication styles of males and females different, so you will understand whenever you are talking or communicating to your opposite gender, don't be offended if he or she responds in different way. That's all. Thank you for listening.
Good day, everyone. So, I'm here today to discuss with you about decision making issue. So, the study of culture and decision making, it addresses the variation in how and why people from different cultures sometimes tend to decide differently. So, next slide shows the points of decision making issue. The first one, we have different cultures have different ways of making and expecting decisions to be made. It means that we need to accept every decisions of every different cultures because we have different beliefs and how to decide and how to act in every situation. So we need to value the perspective of other people and other cultures. So the next one is some expect that consensus is the only way to go. Consensus, it means that recognizing and valuing the all many ways of the members in a group. It enables the group to share their perspective in different ways, and we tend to accept the perspective and decisions of everyone. So the next one is others believe that the majority rules and debate is a waste of time. Then there are others who believe that decisions are made by the leader or most senior person and not the team. But um, it
It
means
means
that
that
it
it
doesn't
doesn't
mean
mean
that
that
you
you
are a
are a
leader
leader
and
and
you
you
are
are
the
the
senior
senior
person
person
of
of
it
it
because
because
everyone
everyone
has a
has a
right
right
in
in
making
making
decision.
decision.
Um,
Um,
we
we
have
have
different
different
cultures,
cultures,
but
but
um,
um,
everyone
everyone
remember
remember
that
that
everyone
everyone
has a
has a
right
right
to
to
make
make
a
a
decision.
decision.
So the
So the
next
next
slide,
slide.
it shows that how does cultural differences affect the decision making. So it may influence people's actions, reflection on actions, identity, tolerance, behavior, development, emotion, expectations, first thoughts, preferences, and attitudes, and so on. So cultural diversity may lead to better decision because of different views and perspectives, ideas, proposal of employees. So cultural diversity may lead to have a better decision because of different views, perspectives, ideas, proposal of employees. It fosters critical thinking in order to um, have a good collaboration and analysis to their um to their decision. And that's all. The next slide will present the varieties in spoken language. So thank you very much.
Good day, everyone. I'm Jennifer Haas, and before I begin, we all now know that Chapter 3 or Module 3 is all about communication in local, global, as well as multicultural setting, and of course, its issue. It's mean pagpapalaghanap or spreading communication in different dialects and environments. So it's really important to know how people communicate, both spoken and written, in different environments. So here I am in front of you to discuss the variety and written languages. But first, what is variety? Remember this. A variety is how language or something differs or naiiba in its group. Okay, now we can proceed to spoken varieties. Spoken language is a language provided by articulate sounds as opposed to a written language. Spoken language is our voices on how we communicate using our voices, on how we entertain others or convince others using our voice. There are four varieties of spoken languages. The first one is the professional spoken language. Great example of this are business proposal and thesis defense. Okay, we all encountered to be a defenders on a thesis defense, and what you remember, we all always using formal and have a deep words. And another professional spoken language is used by professionals from specific industries. We mostly use professional spoken language in school and work. The second is literally spoken language, a spoken language inspired by literature. Great example of this are spoken poetry, storytelling, and even news. Yes, a news like 24 Horas, TV5, etc. A literally spoken language is usually written, but when it is being used verbally, it will utilize wordplay and rhyme to tell stories. The third is conversational spoken language. It is our everyday language we unconsciously use without thinking. Some great examples are speaking to a friend, telling what was your day was, what unusual things happened to you like that. Because this is how we freely express ourselves. The last spoken variety is slang, ethnic, and vulgar language. These are a type of language that consists of words and phrases that are regarded as very informal. These are the words that we invented since they are more common in speech than written and are typically restricted to a particular group or people. For example, a 2022 slang word, marites, Lodi, Charot, Eme, Chica, etc. If you say that words to a completely foreigner, will they understand it? Of course not, because that words only exist in here. We invented that words using our own Filipino language. Okay, that's conclude the variety of spoken languages. Now we can proceed to variety in written languages. Okay, so written languages. To put it simple, nakasulat. If spoken languages is using our voice, written languages, we use our hands and thoughts. Okay, so the variety of written languages is first, the written languages is more carefully organized, more self-explanatory, and the choice of words is more deliberate. Why? Because we have a lot of time to think of it. We have a lot of time to write like that. It might be have a deadline, but at least it is way more longer than spoken languages. The second one is the written languages is only secondary. Why it is secondary? Because we only using papers. Secondary is just like physical papers, mm, technologies like that. Third, the written language is mostly maintained in the form of a monologue. Fourth, the writer has an opportunity to correct and improve what has been put on the paper because it they just say that it has plagiarism checking or institutions like that because we have all the time in written languages. It is not on the spot. Okay, that's concludes the variety of written and spoken languages. Now, I will show you the appropriate terms and expression to express something using spoken and written. The appropriate terms and expression. The first one is slow down when you speak because others will not understand it if you put it faster. They will not pick up or it will really hard to understand. Second, speak clearly and concisely. It's really important to have a correct grammar or correct pronunciation uh, so that people won't be confused. Number three, keep it simple, make it readable, make it understandable. Number four, maintain respect and courtesy for people who come from different cultures. Number five, smile and be open. Number six, avoid slang. Number seven, Sean, avoid rumor, especially uh, if you giving a thesis defense, avoid rumor. 8. Adopt formal communication approach, especially if you are reporting just like what I'm doing right now. Number 9 is stay away from using negative questions or answer because others might be feel uncomfortable if you use negative questions or answers. Number 10, ask for feedback so that you can know what to improve or what to straighten. Number 11, summarize what you have said. Especially, it's really important to summarize what you have said because so that others may can will remember all the things you just said. Okay? And that's all for the report of Group 3. Salamat everyone for listening.